Say hi to Jeannie and Steve. What's up, guys?
Bowie.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Bowie acting up over there, Steve?
I had to scream at the cat. I forgot I was on mute. He was being a dick to the other cat.
They do that sometimes. Hello, everyone. It feels like an eternity since the last office hours. I think it was about 6 weeks ago. We had the holidays in there. But anyway, here we are again. Welcome, everyone. Today is July 18th, and we're about halfway through summer. Boy, I can't wait for it to be over. In any case, welcome. Steve, you doing okay over there in your nice, cool California weather?
Yep, air conditioning working. It's good.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. But before, let's just take care of the legalese. Just want to make sure everyone in attendance is aware of the fact that we're sharing all of this information with you for educational purposes, simply meaning it's not a solicitation to buy or sell anything. If you do need buy and sell information, recommendations, things of that nature, please do yourself a favor, seek out a registered investment advisor or someone like a licensed Series 7 stockbroker. Those people are all allowed to give you investment advice, tell you what to buy, when to sell it, all that good stuff. But just sharing our views on the markets and some cool setups and some software for educational purposes only. And just like to take a little time at the top of the hour here, especially for the new folks that might be out there, kind of let you know about the community that we've fostered around the award-winning tech known as TI Pro. Of course, Barry's trading room right here, or the TI trading room, I should say, but Barry is the master and commander of the trading room, opens the doors about 30 minutes before every open, and it's a great place to learn and trade. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or a seasoned veteran, it's a good place to be. Barry showcasing the way he uses TI tech, and also loves to answer questions and help people out once the market dies down after the first hour or two. Of course, today's Monday, and every other Monday you get myself and Steve Gomez for the Office Hours webinar. Every other Tuesday, you're going to get Steve at the steering wheel and Andy Linloff riding shotgun for the Trade of the Week webinar. And here comes Hump Day, Wednesdays. Every other Wednesday, you're going to get our CEO and founder, Mr. Dan Merkin, along with Brad Williams, typically giving everyone a peek at what might be coming down the pipeline as far as new features go. Every other Thursday, Andy's going to take the helm with the Trading Studio, and I'm going to ride shotgun with him. Of course, every Monday through Friday, we've got the daily support session from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. That's when Barry takes his break, and one of us other people fill in for him Monday through Wednesday. It's typically always a different person, but the daily support session every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, a great place to get any questions TI related answered. Could be a simple configuration issue or anything else related to TI, but it's a good way to get your questions answered in a live environment with all of us sharing our screens during that live support session. So do take advantage. Let's see, I want my pointer here. All right. Daily support session, this URL down here at the bottom is how you get there. You can bookmark that once you get there because it's always at the same spot, hosted on our YouTube channel. Also, a nice little assortment of educational videos here, especially if you're brand new to the product. 101, 201, 301, and 401. Obviously, 101 and 201 going to cover a lot of the basics of TI Pro, but believe me, it'll help you get over the learning curve a lot quicker than not watching these videos. And you can find all of these videos on the Trade Ideas YouTube channel and watch them as many times as you like, stop them, start them, according to your preference. But 101, 201, highly recommended. Once you get done with those, if you're interested in back testing and some of the more advanced functionality, then 301 and 401 would also make sense. And here we are today. Okay, interesting market that unfolded today. First, we started out with the gap up and then the slow sideways movement, eventually filling that gap. My compare count readings, we'll take a peek at those in a minute, but 83% bullish bias after a gap up. And those of you who attend on the regulars have probably heard me say time and time again, when there's a gap, I pay less and less merit to the compare count readings, and the bigger the gap gets, the less merit I pay. Boy, it was kind of a deceiving metric this morning with that gap up and then kind of the push up, but it was not able to maintain, and then we had that gap fill. So Steve, I guess this would be a good time to take a look at those larger tracking ETFs if you're ready to do that.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
All right, let me kick the puck over to you. And you should have it.
And I have my drawing tool. Cool. All right. So I'll talk about a trade I made in a minute, but before I do that, the markets today kind of showed a little bit of maybe their underpinnings. And what I mean by that is all three of the indexes, let's start with the SPY, didn't quite reach its 50-day moving average, but a horrible, ugly engulfing candle, gapping up and doing what we all hate to see when gap up stocks just fail and gap and crap for the day. So kind of an ugly candle, but it never really touched the 50-day, whereas in the Qs opened above their 50-day, and that's why I like to talk about closing candles only. Very hard to make big decisions in the middle of the day. You want to see what the end of the day brings, and end of the day was a real shot across the bow with a big red colored engulfing candle that was a miserable failure. If it could have opened and held green above this declining 50-day moving average, that's really the key that I think a lot of people have been looking for. This is back here when I called for be careful, look out below. This Qs cannot get above the 50-day moving average. That was back in April. So I kind of felt like we were maybe due for an oversold bounce. Let's see, we can even look at the RSI on the bigger picture. Yeah, the RSI was like kind of making higher highs, and it just looked like the markets were flattening out, maybe getting ready for a relief oversold bounce. But the typical general health, as I call it, the 50-day moving average, which tells us the general health, came in and said not so fast. By the time we get to the close here, we're going to throw a couple shots across the bow, as I said. IWM, the Russell 2000, same thing, actually traded up, kissed it on the daily chart, 50-day moving average kissed, and then a complete reversal by the end of the day. You never like to see that. So it kind of puts us back in the down current mode. You know, I was really kind of hoping, you know, cheering for the bulls to get a couple closes above that declining 50 and see what we could do, which is one of the reasons ASO was chosen for trade of the week. Relative to all those other charts, ASO posted a beautiful close above its 200-day and had a nice opening, but like a lot of things gave it back today. But still, the important thing is it's trading back above all moving averages. It took out that 200. So that's basically was a relative strength call for trade of the week. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, rarely do traders that exit a position for a profit look back and go, I don't think I could have done that one much better. They always beat themselves up and say, I could have done this better. But I had a very unusual trade. It happened to me today. I was basically on the phone with an affiliate about 4 days ago, and they specialize in small cap stocks. And he showed me this one and told me the story. I didn't care about the story. All I saw was this giant volume bar, and then 1, 2, 3 days. And I said, those 3 days are very interesting. After that, I'm going to buy some. And this literally became my perfect swing trade scenario. All right. I'm going to give you a golf analogy. You know, it was like hitting a perfect drive, which was the entry on the consolidation, a perfect wedge shot to the green, which basically was the patience to stay in this trade. Trust me, I wanted to get out here at the 50-day moving average, and I had an order to get out, but it didn't get hit. So lucky me, golf gods shine on me the first time, let me have the position over the weekend. But the hardest part for most traders is, how do I take the profits and do it without kicking myself and feeling like I got out too early, feeling like I got out too late? You do it in chunks, all right? And you do it in areas that have meaning. So my first third of this sale today came on the nice spike open. I mean, I couldn't get my order in fast enough. It was pretty much driving up to around 430. I got my first third off around $4. Second third, I just was getting itchy that this has been a really good run. So I said, I'll just take another third off and see what happens with the final third. And then when the final third ran up, this thing was up 40% at one point today. I said, well, there's that nasty $5, pesky $5 level. I'm just going to take this full profit in 3 little chunks. So positioned, patience, and then boom, 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 out. And I rarely feel like I can nail a trade as good as that. So that's, for those that are curious, that's my time frame, and that's how I really enjoy trading and holding on for those 3-day moves if you can catch them. But the exit part is the hard part. Normally I'd wait for that break in the moving average, but I didn't. I just knew highs were being blasted through 5. And sometimes when everybody's chasing something and you got what they want, that really is the moment in time to ring the bell. The other thing I was going to mention before I give it back to Jamie was, as I said, I really was bullish on the market. In my other account that allows me to do this, bought TQQ. And it just felt like a good idea. The NASDAQ had bounced off the Qs there, so I took the SQQs, which is a triple bullish, And so held it over the weekend, saw a nice gap this morning, but here is where I did follow my rules that I talk often about. I said, boy, this market doesn't look like it can do much more. If I don't take this TQQ profit now, I'm going to regret it. And as I talked before, some of you might know, there's my signal candle right there. If I adhere to that intraday break of the 10 SMA when I'm in profit-taking mode, 90% of the time, I am so happy that I recognize that early signal. Just save that, because this is the worst. When you're like, oh, why didn't I get out soon enough? So that rule really helps me try to maximize a profit-taking mode of 1 to 2, 2.5 days coming in. As soon as that momentum breaks, which pretty much everything did today, I'm out. So thought I'd share those 2 trades with you guys. That's it.
Good stuff, Mr. Steve. Good stuff.
Yep,
Interestingly enough, that Sky trade.
You had some,
way to
right?
go. Yeah, but that was just today on a scalping play.
Gotcha. Momentum.
I wasn't in it like you. I'm jealous, of course, of your entry on
the big drive down the middle, the nice consolidated entry point. Yep.
Exactly. Well played, sir. Thank you so much for that, Steve. Let me grab the baton back here. Okay, so you guys got eyes back on my chart screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's just go ahead. One more gander here at the SPY. The nice big gap up. Look at that beautiful little range break right there. I talk about intraday range breaks all the time. Boy, that was a nice one just on the SPY itself today, but I was not in that one. So come on, pointer. Where'd you go? Just pull this back over here real quick, because I wanted to show you guys, the big gap, or not the big gap up, but a gap up in the SPY. And then after the first 15 minutes, I saw these readings on my larger cap compare count. And it just kind of immediately, I was like, well, yeah, I don't know about this. So I didn't put a whole lot of stock in these readings today, for obvious reasons. So anytime there's a gap, I pay less attention. The bigger the gap gets, the less attention I pay, especially seeing this bias in the same direction as the gap. Typically, I put the most stock in these readings when there's hardly any gap, and then we see something above or below 65%, or 65% one way or the other. So just kind of an anomalous, as Steve said, the market showed its underpinnings today. So not really a whole lot of use today with the compare count reading on the large caps. Okay, typically this is when we're going to do the Holly recap, but Holly was sleepy, I guess, from the weekend and only produced 1 trade here. So there's really not a whole lot to go over. Let's just take a look at the one signal that she did have. Of course, just like a lot of things in the market, it was a decent buy. It was up nicely for a while, but just like a lot of things out there, if you didn't take the cookies, come back down to break even pretty soon. If you didn't get out, you were underwater. So not a bad play from Holly. It just didn't have the moxie to hang in there and got sucked down with the rest of the market. Now we can see right here in the risk modes. Ooh, yeah, conservative. If you were in 100 shares, you made 12 bucks. You were holding, being stubborn, you lost a little bit. So nothing to write home about with Holly today. However, we do have a new function available in the new beta that we have on the website right now. We've gotten a lot of requests in the past for being able to see longer term performance of the AI trades. And right now it is available in the latest beta. If you're not sure how to get there, what I'm going to do is show you real quick here. So if I click here, we're just at the Trade Ideas homepage. We click on the old download button. Oops. That's the wrong button. Okay, so download, and then download Trade Ideas. Okay, this is the production version, but if we scroll down, you'll be able to see the beta version here. And if you want to take a peek at what all's in there, you can click on this little plus sign at the bottom and read all the different things, additions, changes. And then when you get down here, you're going to see these guys. Okay, so let me show you guys how to access those. You can spawn it from the AI Trades Plotter. What you do is just simply right click and show the longer term trades. And then you're going to get thumbnails of the most recent Holly trades, okay? And you might notice down here in these little ledgers, it's going to give you some information. All right, since this trade was initiated, it's going to show you the day that it was initiated, and it's going to show you how many days it's been profitable as a swing trade. Now, if we want to adjust, and by the way, all the numbers up here are going to be reflective of your Brokerage Plus settings that you have set up from tools and options. So currently I'm just saying, make my blotter or my Holly blotter reflect 100 shares. And then if we come in here and go to the history, we now have additional options. Today, previous trading day, last week, last 30 days, last 60 days, or we can select the specific time frame. So if we do that, you're going to see things populate, okay? And then you should be able to scroll through the thumbnail charts down here for the respective trades. You're also going to see the numbers adjust according to the risk modes on that batch of trades in which you are viewing the history. So I'm sure we're going to be making additional enhancements to this, but it is available in the beta download. So if you want to start checking this out, just grab that beta. Should be pretty easy to install. And that way you can see the longer term performance of the AI. So this is one way to do it, just by right clicking and show the long-term trades. Or we can come over here and spawn it from here, AI Holly long-term strategy trades window. And when I do that, it's gonna pull it up, but just for the longer term, okay? Keep the regular AI blotter, it just adds it. But if we spawn it from the toolbar, it's just gonna show you the longer term trades. And of course, we can, well, I was looking for the historical function here. Okay, well, I guess if we want history, we have to use the original trade blotter. So let me just put that back on real time. All right, so just kind of wanted to give you guys a peek at that, let you know it's available in the beta. So if you've been waiting for that functionality, grab it and have a ball with it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the stock races. And if any of you out there are sitting there going, I just don't get the stock races. Well, you're not alone, because myself, along with the other handful of converts, pretty much thought the same thing at first. What's this? How's this any different from a top list? Well, it's the visualization. Barry, at first he didn't see the value, and now he's loving them, right? And I've really been applying a specific little technique all of last week, and had really positive results with it. And I was telling myself, well, you've experienced this a lot with other just alert windows, top lists, things of that nature. They work for a while, or they might work immediately, but eventually, don't be surprised. Don't get your hopes up too much, because everything kind of starts to wane in the end, right? Whatever's working at the time will stop working at some point. It just depends on how much time you get between the beginning of the working and the end of the working. All right. So I came fully expectant to not get the same types of results, so to speak, or seeing the same types of stocks appear on my races today. I'm like, Jamie, it's Monday. You know, last week was a good run, but don't be surprised if you don't see anything good today. And thankfully, I was pleasantly surprised. So these two races that I have on my screen right here, they've been running all day since right on the open. Hadn't logged out or changed anything at all. Just wanted to have a full, you know, not necessarily blotter, but list of stocks to look at here. Now, this one here on the right, change from open, very simple. And this one is changing to minutes. Now, all through last week, I would have some show up on this one that did not show up on this one, and vice versa. Or sometimes they would show up on this one and eventually make it here. But if we look at the symbols here, CTXS, the one Steve was talking about, the leader. And by the way, I've got mine to show me only the top 10, okay? So if I clicked here, it would show me all winners, but then you have to scroll a lot and go looking for the ones with the higher win rates. So that's why I just like to leave mine on the top 10. So what we're going to do here is just take a look at all these, you know, ones that are winning the most here. That's the cool part about this, is it's a relatively simple process. So first off, SkyW, the one that Steve was illustrating with his beautiful swing trade there. But you can see here, I've got a buy and a sell arrow, right? Now you're like, well, Jamie, why'd you sell it so quick right here? You know, it moved a lot, right? After you sold it, and looking at the chart here, it doesn't really look like it was throwing you any elbows, okay? So when I've been using the races, I've also been incorporating the buy and sell buttons that you see on the chart here. And give me 1 second here. That Texas heat's getting to my throat there. You see the buy and sell buttons here. So the way I saw SkyX today, number one, let's just roll the chart in here, because when it was brought to my attention, I can't remember if it was here or here. You know, the pattern was forming. We were kind of flatlining on the 15 minutes after this nice little wick up here. There's an old trader saying that says if it wicks there, prints there, it can go there, right? So I saw it just like this, and I thought to myself, okay, if SkyX goes back up and pops that high, all I did is I clicked my buy button there. Once I do that, then it gives you this little crosshair here. And so I just set an alert to automatically get me in. And you can see I just set it a little high right now. But when you do that, your buy line is clearly visible, your stop loss, and your profit target. So in this particular case, and by the way, if you want to kill these guys, we just hit delete on each one and it will get rid of them. But kind of just wanted to show you guys the methodology there. And sure enough, what happened, it bought, and I had a 5% profit target automatically built into the script there. And it just, I wasn't even watching it. I just looked back and I'm like, I made money in SkyX. Of course, I was a little miffed that it kept going there. But hey, when the technology functions like it's supposed to, in and out, hands off, that's why we created these buttons here. So, you know, my routine that's developed, you know, over the past week or so is just watching all the stocks that are winning the first 2 or 3 races and then pulling them up, treating them like any other high quality information stream, which could be an alert window, a top list, or any other window available through Trade Ideas, and then just picking the spots on the chart where I think I might like to get filled and letting them go. Now, moving forward, I might just remove the profit target, keep the stop loss intact to avoid situations like this, and just, you know, keep a close eye on the blotter there. But it was still good to see the tech functioning in that hands-off way. Mike, I see your question there about the replay races. And what he's talking about here is if I go show the race setup, If I had this button checked right here, auto start last day replay at 5 p.m. my time, at 5 p.m. this thing would just start replaying all the races that had taken place today. So to your point, Mike, I haven't really embraced that feature yet. I just haven't had the urge to sit around and rewatch any races since I kind of see them all happening in real time. But I'm sure there's a beneficial use for it. I just don't know what it might be right now. Obviously, there's been some thought put into it. For example, maybe you weren't in the chair at that time, and then you want to rewatch the races and go back and look at the charts and see how the action coincides with the stocks that are winning the races. You know, that might be one way to do it, but I'm sure there's some beneficial utility in there. I just haven't really embraced it yet. So let's take a peek here at some of the trades that I hit based solely on these two races. And once again, we had a lot of duplicates here. Let's see, ILAG, NCNA. I think DDL was also, it was on here. It just wasn't one of the top 10s by the time the day was over. So we do have some overlap. We got one or two that showed up on one and not the other. But let's take a peek here. Now this first one is one from Friday, the EVTL. Got into it at a nice price and on Friday, and then took a little bit home and sold it today. That's why you're not seeing a buy arrow on today's intraday chart. Now the next one here, totally intraday. All right, once again from the same, buy button, bought right here, automatically got me out there. Not a bad little trade. Okay, so CLNN, how many times did it show up on each race? We had 10 winners from the change in 2 minute, and it was on the top 10. I think it fell off before the day was out. I could have sworn CLNN was on this one as well. But this little guy right here, oh my goodness, probably the best intraday entry and exit I've made in a while. And you can see the entry right here. And what I really liked about this, I just was scrolling through all the stocks that had shown up on the win list, just very methodically. And I see this one and I'm thinking to myself, not only is it pulling back right to the 10 period, the green line there, but also the black line here, which is the 130 period, which once again, I got to thank Steve for showing me that 130 because it really does have some merit on this 15 period intraday chart. And I saw the crossing there of like, hey, this is right at the 130 and the 10. I got to try some of this because that's a really good signal in my mind. And of course, beautiful entry. Managed to get out, not at the top, but pretty close. Obviously, the market was peeling off. This one took a little bit longer. Didn't peel off as much as the others, but just a gorgeous entry coinciding at the 130 and the 10 period there. Okay, so this got my juices, the old creative juices flowing about the 130. So I've also created a window that I'll share with you guys before we're done here, making use of pullbacks to the 130 period. And just keep in mind, this is great for scalping on an intraday 15-minute chart, okay? And we'll get to that a little bit later. But DDL, definitely the prettiest entry and exit for yours truly today. And then of course, we've already looked at this one, had the auto 5% in, shot myself in the foot a little bit on that one. And then just some other, so-so trades here. BT, I did have my China races running. I just wanted to show you guys these two for this presentation, but that's why you're not seeing BT on, what is BT? Is not Chinese, is it? But I could have swore that came out of my Chinese list today. Oh well, no big deal. Nonetheless, just a decent little entry here and a decent little exit there. and FFHL. Really kind of mistimed the exit on this one. Missed all of this flurry up here on this big wiki candle here, but bought a little bit right here. Didn't get out up here. Just kind of let this one, well, I was just a bad parent today on this trade management here. Ended up making a little bit, but left, you know, about 60 cents on the table at the top on a $5 stock. That's a pretty good percentage value, but you can't peg them all perfectly. And, you know, these were all generated just from basically these two windows here. And I'm pretty sure BTBT was on the other one. I don't know why though, because it's showing up as a good old Americana company here, as we can see from the flag. But in any case, all these trades that went extremely well, the percentage move on these things was just ridiculous today. Now, you know, we did have a little bit of time to, you know, to manage those long trades, because right there at 11:45 my time, not quite noon, before that, before the market kind of broke, started filling that gap, and then went even further with the engulfing candle there. But you know, even on a day where the market is down, that is the cool thing about the stock races. It's still going to be showing you stocks that are extraordinarily strong in a down market. And then, you know, I just imagine if we would have gotten a green lift today, these trades would have all done a little bit better. But in this market condition, let's see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 intraday scalping trades that were all profitable and could have been much more profitable if I would have managed them a little bit better. Not too shabby, not too shabby. So I'm going to keep doing the same thing again tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. If we come to the end of this week and we're seeing the same old song and dance, or even if it's 3 out of 5 trading days, then you know, that's just affirmation here that, you know, even though these races are simply monitoring a single column in a top list, well, it's a way to re-visualize the data, and apparently it's working, right? So I'm a big race fan now, and I'm going to continue to use them. And if you haven't been using them, I would urge you to do so. Now, keep in mind, not only am I going to share this new alert window with you guys before we're done, but I'll also drop the cloud links for these two races, which are two of my more favorite ones, in the chat panel as well. All right, Ileana, let me take a look at your question here. And yes, Sam, I will be sharing those races. Okay, I'm just going to read your comment out here aloud, Liliana, because I think it's important for everybody to kind of realize this. And they're saying they need to embrace the newest version, as I'm still on a 2-year-old version because I love all my windows. Well, the good news is when you install a fresh version of Trade Ideas, all your windows and your layouts remain intact. So you might be thinking, well, I'm gonna have to start all over when I install the new build, but no, that's not the way we constructed the system. Anytime you install or upgrade to the latest version, your layout should come back up just as you left it, so you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about losing anything, Liliana. Let me see, is there a second part? Platform, daily races, how to get the tickers into the race before I switch over. Yes, and the tickers that are being presented here are all going to be based on the underlying top list, okay? Because see, this race here is being powered from this top list, okay? Now notice, anytime you have a top list up, all you gotta do is right click and launch the race for that top list. So races are only tied to top list, not alert windows, right? So anytime you have a top list up, you just right click and say launch the real-time stock race. Once you do that, notice this is positive change from open. These are still running because there's some aftermarket movement. But if we look at the race setups, all we do is we plug in our information. How many race lanes do we want to have? How long do we want each race to be? Based on what column? Change from open, right? So this is how you set up which column you want the race to key off of from the respective top list. All right, see some more questions piling in here. Give me a second. And to your point there, James, I was just doing an even 50-50 on these lower price stocks because they can get a little bit wicky. So I just simply, you know, for the buttons up there, I'll hit the button. It'll throw out a 5% profit target, a 5% stop loss. Then I'll kind of take a gander at the chart. And if I need to grab that line, because we can adjust the lines once we set a profit target, then I'll just illustrate that real quick here. If I say, okay, all right, well, that's probably not the best candidate because it's trading up there pre-market or post-market. Let me just pull up SkyX here. All right, if I click the buy button and I hit it, okay. If it buys here, that's going to be my stop loss. But if I ever wanted to adjust it, all I have to do is grab the line and move it accordingly, and then that automatically adjusts your price for your stop. So a lot of the times on a what we call a script or a pre-programmed buy and sell button there, what you have to do when you want to use these buy and sell buttons is you have to set up a strategy or what we call a little script, an order entry script, and then make that your default chart buy and sell strategy. So a lot of times I'll just put really wide stops and profit targets in there and then just grab the lines if I want to make it more customizable to the specific intraday chart. And yes, Bill, I'll be sharing those. James, okay, we got that question out. And Liliana, no, you would not have to do a brand new top list every day if you're watching gappers because that top list is going to automatically update for you, right? So if it's part of your layout, you know, the gappers are only going to be showing you the things that are gapping from prior close to the next open there. All right, little time check here. Okay, just enough time to get to this last window here. All right, so when I saw that DDL entry with the perfect correlation between the 130 and the 10, I'm thinking to myself, you know, I haven't really been paying enough attention to the 130. So what I did is I put together this little alert window here, and it's relatively simple. Now, I picked the running down now alert because a lot of the times when you see things like this little tail here, they're going to run down pretty briskly to that point. And that's why I've chosen the running down now alert, which looks at rapid bid movement to the downside, and it looks at the 1 minute time frame. So it's one of the faster alerts. Now, here is the filter that I started with, or a couple of filters. 100,000, had to trade 100,000 shares today just to make sure it's in play. That way, if it's even a more thinly traded stock, who cares? It's got volume in it today. No minimum, just the 150 max. And I started with this setting right here on the 130. 0 min and 1/10 of 1%. So it's got to either be right at it, but no more than 1/10 of 1% above it. So hopefully it'll find the ones that are just right there at it. My distance from inside market, because I have this in all my scans. The only optimization I did with this guy is I added, since we're looking at 15 minutes, the 15-minute RSI, because a lot of the times when a stock is going down, when it gets below 40, then a lot of the times that's a good sign for a reversal. Okay, on the opposite side of that coin, when they get above 70, you know, they might be taking a little pullback. So that's where my mind went here with the 15-minute RSI. Now, when you're looking at this metric, you want to make sure that you don't have pre-market checked, because that pre-market will kind of mess up the line there. Okay, so I don't know, I just accidentally clicked on that one. Let's see, that's post-market, CTXS. Now, of course, not the most bullish market at the close here, but this is still telling. It got right down to it, but guess what? In this case, it did not hold. Now, what I've done here, like I said, I wanted to keep this as lean and mean as possible because it's just like any other window. It's not a magic bullet. but it can produce some very interesting intraday scalps based on bouncing off of this 130-day period. So I've already got the back test queued up, and since this is intraday, we're going to skip the first 5 minutes because things are all crazy. But this is geared for a 15. There's a theme going on here. Okay, 130 on the 15-minute chart, 15-minute RSI, hold time of 15 minutes. But hey, just like any trade, if you're in the money after 15 minutes and you think it's got more, feel free to make adjustments, right? But just to give you guys a peek here, and the reason I'm showing you the back test here is because is not because I'm going to automate this, and a lot of people lose track of this. Just because you're back testing doesn't mean you're going to automate, okay? It's just giving you a general idea of, okay, is this a good pool to be fishing from? It's like going to a stock tank versus going to a large lake or whatever. You know there are fish in there. If you're not catching them, well, chalk it up to luck, the type of bait that you're using. In this case, it would be the type of setup that you might be seeing. Because although the 130 is very cool, we still have other things like, other technical aspects to consider here. So just want to give you guys a peek here. And what I did is I ran this back test for a 40 trading day period, right? About 2 months, roughly speaking. Here, I haven't installed any stop losses or profit targets. I might try to dial it in a little bit more later. I just wanted to see if this is worth paying attention to. And based on these results, I think it probably is worth paying attention to. Looking at the daily performance here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 40 days, right? Not too shabby. If we take a peek down here, what we might expect, most winning days in a row 7, losing days in a row 2. I've just got this on a simple $1,000 per trade, and I've probably got my buying power a little over there, so we could probably adjust this down. Well, take it down to 5, it turns pink. We might as well just leave it a little overinflated there. So not a bad 40-day performance. Now, if we take a peek and just say, okay, let's go back to the last day that it looked nice and green, which would have been Thursday of last week. Let's just take a look at some of these trades here. All right, hey, good to see it spitting out large cap names. Boeing, everybody's familiar with Boeing. Okay. And on that day, it took that was the opening candle there, took a little swoon down, reclaimed it immediately, and went up for the rest of the day. So once again, not bad on a 15-minute hold time. If you were in this trade and felt like it was going to go higher, a lot more was on the table. Let's take a look at Spittle here, which sounds like an ETF. Just kind of scroll back here to get to that day. All right. This just looks like the, could have been algo tree shaking. I mean, this is very common in the opening 15 minutes, but look where that wick ended up, right down there by the 130 period. TLT, another ETF. And once again, an opening wick down to that 130. Hey, look, one of the gorilla stocks, AMC. And another opening foray through there, but firming up nicely, going sideways for about an hour, and then whoosh, a nice little lift. So most, I can't say every stock that comes through here is going to be extremely liquid, but from the looks of it, most of them are. Of course, you're going to know it when you pull it up. So, you might want to play around with this guy because there's plenty of trades over a 40-day period there. All right. 57.5% winners. Once again, this is not to just take everything blindly, but you're going to know the good ones when you see them. Just like when I saw DDL today, there was no guarantee it was going to work, but boy, it looked real juicy with the 10 period and the 130 coinciding there. Now, initially, I did try to create something that incorporated what you see here, a perfect, meshing of the 10 and the 130. And I did find something that produced a lot of symbols, but when I started pulling them all up, they were all these SPACs that were just flatlining for weeks and months. I'm like, well, it is doing what I asked it, just not really interested in these stocks that never move. So keep that in mind too as you watch this window. If you do have a 10 period up on the 15 and you see the nice little nesting there, well, that could potentially work out really well. All right, so I've got all these links queued up. I know we're just about out of time here, so give me a second and I'll drop those links into the chat. Okay, they're all in there now. Now keep in mind, the cloud links are for the races. So when you load them up, you're just gonna see the races. But keep in mind, if you want that connected top list, all you have to do is right click and open the top list. And it'll open the top list for that specific race. So I've got a couple more ideas for new races in my head. I'm gonna get those configured probably sometime tonight or tomorrow and start watching those as well and see if I can come up with any new ones. But for me right now, positive change from open, change in 2 minutes, definitely been producing winners just about every day that I've started watching them. It's just about being in them and monitoring the progress. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a hiatus here, but it's good to be back in the saddle. Thank you for coming around. Any other questions that I need to answer here before I hand it off to Scott? And yes, James, I see your question there. And the statement was, if one does not sit in front of the computer watching the races the whole day, will we still be able to take advantage of these opportunities? Well, if you can sit in, say, at least for the first hour or so and start looking at the races, and that way you can start setting, limit buys to get you in using the buttons, either on a break of a high or maybe on a pullback. Pullbacks, when I see these stocks that were really extended today, for example, the pullback was not why I bought this here. It just came across and I saw it at the time. But after the first 30 minutes, if I saw it up here and I think to myself, well, I don't want to chase, I could have easily set my buy alert down here right at the 10, because a lot of the times these stocks, just like DDL, will pull back to that 10 period. So if you've got the proper buy and sell script in there that automatically puts your stop loss and profit target in, and you get hit, yeah, you'll be covered. When you're not in the chair, of course, we never recommend chair leaving. I like to be here, and typically the only time I'll set hard stops is if I'm not paying attention or if I'm not going to be here. But the functionality is there, James, just so you know. Patrick, to your point there, why is the change in 2 minute personally important for the stock race? The smaller time frame is going to report faster, right? Now I've got my races set on 1 minute times here, and probably what I'm going to do moving forward is you can get 1 minute, change 1 minute in a top list through a custom formula. So I probably will eventually, probably tonight, modify my change in 2 minute to be a change in 1 minute, because that's going to give me information faster. For example, if I'm watching 5 minute races, who knows how much that stock might have moved up in 5 minutes if I got to wait 5 minutes to get the report, right? Or to see that the stock actually won the race. Well, 1 minute just is going to give me the information a little bit faster, all right? And not saying that's the holy grail or anything, that's just the way that I choose to do it. Okay, looks like that's all of the questions. So Scott, if you're ready to walk us on out, beam us up, Scotty.
Sounds good. Yeah, a couple items on the way out. If you haven't already, grab the My Favorite Strategy Indicators ebook. It's produced by our own director of software development, Dave Mabe. Just go to tradeIdeas.com/strategies and grab that free download. We have a partnership with Interactive Brokerage that allows you to connect trade ideas Brokerage Plus module with the Interactive Brokers account. Trade directly from Trade Ideas, manage your positions. You can learn about becoming an Interactive Brokerage client at tradeIdeas.com/IBKR. Stock racing, of course, we've been talking about that lately. It's one of our favorite new products. You can learn some more, see a promotional video at tradeIdeas.com/stockrace, and download the newest beta, like Jamie was showing you earlier in the webinar, to get the newest version of that stuff. We have a partnership with E-Trade, similar to Interactive Brokerage. You can connect your E-Trade account with Brokerage Plus, trade directly from Trade Ideas using your E-Trade account. Go to trade-ideas.com/E-Trade, and E-Trade lets you do that commission-free. So that's a little advantage they have there. I've got a discount code if you decide you want to start up a new sub or upgrade your current subscription to a premium plan. Just use the code FASTDATA, save 15% off that first installment of your upgrade or new subscription. And you can find Steve on Twitter at TISteveG. Find Jamie, he's at QuantBot. We've also got at Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook handle. We are Trade Ideas on YouTube. And any questions, just use that email address, info@tradeIdeas.com. Goes directly to our support team. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, friends. Have a nice rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.